Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. As the government shutdown continues on its 22nd day, Governor Gavin Newsom announced he would deploy the National Guard and set aside $80 million to support food banks. This comes as the state's Department of Social Services warns that people on food stamps may not be receiving their benefits come November. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on what that means for San Diegans.
You know, I need them to know I need my EBT. It's Thanksgiving too. We can't afford this.
As Cora Weber unloads the food she got from Feeding San Diego Marketplace, she worries about how she's going to feed herself next month.
I got to find me a food line because I don't get but $112 a month anyway.
She receives CalFresh benefits, which is California's version of the federal food assistance program. Nearly 400,000 people in San Diego County receive CalFresh benefits. Because of the government shutdown, those benefits may not be coming next month. Weber got the notification from the county yesterday.
There goes my everything, my meals for next month, my Thanksgiving plan. Everything is out the window now because I don't have the cash to fund meals for myself.
Earlier this week, the state warned the county that there might be a disruption if the shutdown continues past Thursday.
When the benefits disappear, there are going to be over 400,000 people added into the hunger relief network.
It's very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for the hunger relief network to respond and to make up that gap.
Today, Governor Gavin Newsom announced he will deploy the National Guard and free up $80 million to help food banks in anticipation of the increased demand. The $80 million is coming from CalFood funding to help food banks buy food.
And what the governor did is he's advancing those dollars so we can utilize them now to respond to the increased demand.
San Diego Food Bank CEO Casey Castillo says the National Guard would help sort and bag food in the food bank's warehouse. Both the food bank and Feeding San Diego say they've seen an increase in demand from federal workers and military families.
Lately, we have been asked by members of the Marine Corps up at Camp Pendleton to do discreet food distributions.
As for Weber, Feeding San Diego staff is helping her connect to other food distribution networks. If you need food assistance, visit the websites on your screen. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And the holiday season is typically a time when people pick up holiday jobs, but this year could look a little different. Coming up, what may be the key to finding a good seasonal gig this year? San Diego City Council members are considering a ballot measure that would tax vacation homes. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it's an effort to prevent future budget cuts.
San Diego has about 5,600 homes that are rented out short-term on platforms like Airbnb. About 5,000 homes in the city are considered second homes, meaning they're vacant most of the year. Councilmember Sean Ela Rivera wants to ask voters to tax those homes based on how many bedrooms they have. The revenue would go into the city's general fund to support services like police, fire protection, libraries, and parks.
The vacation home operation tax is about restoring fairness and balance in our housing market. It's pretty simple. If you live here, you're actually in the clear. If you use your home as a business, it's only fair to contribute to the city services that make that business possible.
The tax would not apply to properties where the owner lives on site and rents out a spare bedroom. The proposal was supported by affordable housing advocates, unions, and neighborhood groups that have protested short-term rentals. A number of hosts on Airbnb showed up in opposition, saying the tax could put them out of business.
Please don't make us pay even more excessive taxes when we cannot afford it. The vast majority of short-term rental hosts in San Diego are local residents and responsible neighbors who share their home with guests to earn extra income. What's more, we already contribute millions of dollars in taxes each year to the city annually.
The City Council's Rules Committee voted to continue refining the tax proposal and analyze its potential impacts to city finances. Supporters want to place it on the June 2026 ballot. It would need a simple majority to pass. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A new report this week shows National City has added hundreds of more affordable homes in the last 5 years. KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki says that's a fraction of what the city will need to meet its housing goals by the end of the decade.
In 2021, National City leaders set a goal of adding a specific number of homes across income levels in order to meet targets set by state and regional planning agencies. 4 years later, planning officials say they're seeing some slow but consistent progress, especially when it comes to homes that are more affordable for working-class people. At the City Council meeting Tuesday night, Acting Community Development Director Martin Reeder said developers have already built over 300 affordable homes and 700 units in total. But the city still has to add thousands more by 2030.
Our original number was 5,437, so we're only at 4,705. We still got some work to do, but we are working on that.
City officials grumbled about the size of their housing targets. Mayor Ron Morrison said National City faces an unusually high bar because of its strong public transit and a good balance of jobs and housing.
Because we did smart growth, we get the huge numbers, and the cities that did dumb growth, they get rewarded for it.
During the last planning cycle, which ended in 2020, National City wasn't able to meet any of its housing goals. 5 other cities across San Diego County also failed to meet their goals, including Oceanside, Solana Beach, and El Cajon. Saad Assad is with the pro-housing advocacy group YIMBY Democrats of San Diego. He says smaller cities do face greater logistical challenges when it comes to adding new housing.
I don't want to completely absolve the legislative leaders and the mayor of National City. They can do more, but I'm also recognizing that they do have quite literally less staff and less tax dollars to spend on some of these things.
National City has another 4 years to meet its housing goals. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
Well, we're on a little bit of a roller coaster this week with changing temperatures and conditions. You might have seen a few showers earlier today, but if you did, you only picked up 1 or 2/100ths of an inch. Overall tonight, we're dropping down to the low 60s, and that marine layer, that's a factor into tomorrow as well. I'll tell you all about that and what to expect for the rest of the week and into the weekend coming up.
Today, a federal judge is holding a hearing on whether to extend an order blocking the deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago. Meanwhile, immigration raids across the country are triggering protests. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest.
Immigration raids flaring up across the country this week. A chaotic scene in New York Tuesday. Bystanders stepped in as ICE agents began arresting street vendors illegally operating along Canal Street in downtown Manhattan. In Los Angeles, a federal marshal and an undocumented immigrant were injured after an immigration and customs enforcement agent's weapon discharged during an operation, according to officials. Investigators believe gunfire erupted after an ICE officer confronted a man in a vehicle and smashed a window with their service weapon, a law enforcement source said. Authorities believe the agent's weapon discharged while they were attempting to grab the suspect, striking both the suspect and a deputy U.S. Marshal. Both are expected to recover, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Meanwhile, across the country, a number of hearings are taking place related to the deployment of National Guard troops.
You would think that would be common sense.
President Donald Trump says he feels empowered to send National Guard troops into any city he sees fit after a ruling by an appeals court allowed his troop deployment in Portland, Oregon.
We have the right to use the National Guard to put out trouble.
His administration is urging the U.S. Supreme Court to allow a similar deployment in Chicago. The justices are reviewing whether lower federal courts were correct to block Trump from deploying hundreds of National Guard members to an ICE facility in the city's suburbs. Ivan Rodriguez, KPBS News.
If you're planning to vote in the November special election by mail, state officials are urging you to return your ballot ahead of Election Day. As Becca Habecker reports, it's because of changes at the U.S. Postal Service.
California Secretary of State Dr. Shirley Weber and Attorney General Rob Bonta are urging voters who are casting their ballot by mail to do so no later than Saturday, November 1st, since California law requires ballots be postmarked by Election Day in order to be counted. In this case, that's postmarked by November 4th.
If you're going to put it in the mailbox, do it now and get your ballot in.
As Bonta explained at a news conference earlier this month,
due to a change in the United States Postal Service's policies, mail-in ballots in some communities will not be postmarked the day they are mailed, but will instead be postmarked a day later.
He says people living in communities more than 50 miles from California's 6 regional mail processing facilities might see their ballot postmarked the day after dropping it in the mailbox.
Get your vote-by-mail ballot submitted through the USPS if you're going to use a USPS system by November 1st to ensure that your ballot will be counted in our election.
Armando Salud Ambriz is clerk, recorder, and registrar of voters for Nevada County, most of which lies outside that 50-mile proximity to a regional mail processing facility. He says you can always bring your ballot envelope to the service counter at a post office.
If you visit your local post office and you want to get that comfort of knowing that your ballot was postmarked, go ahead and ask the postal clerk to postmark it and you'll be fine.
The U.S. Postal Service tells ABC 10 in a statement, in part, given the variety of ways mail pieces enter the postal network, the U.S. Postal Service has never guaranteed same-day postmarking. There are changes occurring in our regional transportation schedules as we optimize our network. These can change the timeline for the postmark. It is becoming more common that mail is postmarked at the processing facility a day after it is collected by a carrier or dropped off at a post office.
Please get your vote in. Don't forget to sign your envelope, and we look forward to high turnout.
Becca Habiger reporting. For more on how to vote in the November special election, you can check out the KPBS Voter Hub. We have more information on Prop 50, including an interactive map showing how your district might change if it passes. You can find a link to the Voter Hub on our homepage or go to kpbs.org/vote. Earlier this month, the Grossmont Union High School District Board voted to create one librarian position to supervise all libraries in the district. It was the second significant change to the district's libraries in less than a year. KPBS reporter Elaine Alfaro spoke with students and teachers who say the decisions have already been disruptive.
The Granite Hills High School Library was like a second home for junior Cairo Jones. She'd go there to relax in the quiet sanctuary, sifting through books or asking the librarian for help with research papers.
Our librarian, she knew every book that was in that library. As soon as you said a title, she'd be like, oh, that one's checked out. Oh, no, that one's right over there. So I went there pretty often.
But all of that changed this school year, following a March vote by board trustees to cut all librarian positions in the district.
A lot of the times it's been closed most of into lunch and at fourth period, which for me, those are like the times that I can go to the library because all of my other classes are like, we're doing stuff until the bell.
West Hills High School senior Lillian Zender also felt the loss of her school's librarian.
It's completely changed most of the work that our librarian put into it, as displaying artwork. A lot of her references, recommendations, that's all almost completely gone because it went with her.
Earlier this month, the board majority followed up their March decision by approving one librarian to oversee all libraries in the district. And that librarian will report to an official in the district office. District officials refused a request from KPBS for an interview, but in an emailed statement said current library staff members can check out books. However, they can't supervise students like the former librarians could. Students say this means they can't study, gather for clubs, or get help with their research in the library. Amy Carinta, president of the California School Library Association, says when you remove a teacher librarian,
there is a huge absence of those types of lessons and the depth to which the teacher librarian can go.
In its emailed response to KPBS, the district said, quote, as is natural during a period of transition, we have been addressing some misunderstandings regarding library operations. To our knowledge, students have access to the library throughout the day, except for brief periods when a library technician may be on break or lunch, end quote. Jackie Na is a social studies teacher at Valhalla High School who spoke to KPBS after the board's most recent public meeting. She says the board's moves look like a step towards censorship.
I would definitely have some concerns, especially with what level of interaction the board expected to have with said district librarian, because I think they've overstepped in a lot of areas, trying to micromanage day-to-day decisions of staff in the district where that's not really their role.
Na is not alone in her concerns. Teachers, students, and former librarians say the board majority's actions speak to a larger conservative political movement. Jason Balistreri is a former librarian and now teaches history at Mount Miguel High School.
Definitely, it seems like there's an ideological agenda, and it's like a full front battle on many fronts. It feels like they're attacking public education, and they are.
Barbara Ruggles, a West Hills High School English teacher, is one of multiple teachers who say that issues with getting approval for new books feed into censorship concerns.
For us to just be continuously told no, even though we're doing everything right, suggests there's some other censorship going on because they just refuse to tell us anything more.
The district acknowledged the book review process needs clarification and added that officials have outlined goals to build a culture of trust and collaboration. Balistreri says the recent board decisions have actually eroded trust in the district.
That is a fear, is that they would, they're at the whims of the board and the district. But it seems that separation of powers and checks and balances has disappeared. And now it just seems the district do whatever the board says.
District officials have not said when they plan to hire the district librarian. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
Interest in seasonal work is surging this year, but the number of holiday job openings likely won't meet that demand. Karen Kafa breaks down what job hunters need to know and what it says about the economy as a whole.
Holiday job openings are out there, but so is stiff competition.
The competition is going to be much stiffer this year than it was a couple years ago, because we have seen that slowdown in the number of job postings paired with an increase in the competition of more and more people.
Corey Staley, senior economist for Indeed Hiring Lab, says their data finds job searches surging ahead of the holiday season while employers pull back.
Temporary jobs in some ways are different than what we see in full-time and other jobs in the economy, but in other ways they're also very much the same, right? So we're seeing a lot of the broader trends in the labor market being reflected in this year's holiday hiring.
Outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas forecast seasonal retail hiring to fall to its lowest point since 2009 during the Great Recession. Nancy Vandenhouten, lead economist for Oxford Economics, says those employers may be taking cues from consumers.
A lot of consumers are feeling, pressured by high costs for a variety of things, whether it's things where tariffs have been applied or just everyday essentials, food, housing, electricity. So retailers seem to be taking a cautious approach.
But Staley says Indeed's real-time postings show retail isn't the only place to look for a holiday job.
We see some leisure and hospitality, but we also start seeing some interesting cases where even like accounting jobs start to pick up this time of year.
Some of the top seasonal postings are for beauty advisors, delivery drivers, food service workers, and truck drivers. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
It's been a decade since a landmark study sparked new guidelines recommending peanut products be fed to young babies to help prevent the development of life-threatening allergies. A new study shows that since then, peanut allergies have significantly declined in the U.S. Mandy Gaither looks into the data.
For decades, parents were told to keep peanuts and nut products away from young children until age 3. But in 2015, research caused experts to flip-flop. The current guidelines say introducing these foods in infancy can actually help prevent food allergies.
The end goal is to see this tide turn.
A new study published in the journal Pediatrics determined about 60,000 children have avoided food allergies since guidelines changed, including 40,000 children who otherwise would have developed peanut allergies. Still, about 8% of children are affected by food allergies, including more than 2% with a peanut allergy.
There's been a lot of fear.
Dr. Ruchi Gupta says that fear may have stopped some from following the guidelines, but she says parents should start introducing peanut products as soon as their baby is ready to eat solid foods, usually around 4 to 6 months.
Use like peanut butter, smooth peanut butter, and then thin it out with breast milk, formula, applesauce, whatever you desire. And then slowly introduce it to your baby. A little bit on the lip, let them lick it, add a little bit more.
Gupta says when introducing peanut products, parents should watch out for signs of an allergy like rash, hives, and vomiting. She says those are the most common symptoms in babies with a food allergy.
But if they eat it just fine, then I recommend just keeping it in their diet, keeping it in 2 to 3 times a week. And hopefully, that way they go on to enjoying it.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Some good news is blooming at the Tijuana River Community Garden. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga has an update on plans for keeping gardeners planting.
Nati Andrade has been growing fruits and vegetables in his plot for over 20 years.
Ahorita tengo sembrado un poquito repollo, coliflor, broccoli, más repollo y rábano, cilantro.
He's also grown memories there with his granddaughter. Bits of those memories are shown on a bright green poster his 9-year-old granddaughter made. It says, "Please don't close my tata's garden." The agency managing the 17-acre community garden gave them 60 days to leave over concerns about cross-border pollution. But Andrade has been hopeful the dozens of growers like himself will somehow get to stay.
No se va a cerrar. Eso era lo que queríamos oír.
He says it won't close. That's what we wanted to hear. That's what they heard at a recent meeting with Supervisor Paloma Aguirre.
I just wanted to make it very clear to them that the garden will continue no matter what.
The county owns the land and is now looking for a new garden operator. A formal search is underway. The deadline for organizations to apply closes Friday. Aguirre says the county is moving quickly because the deadline to vacate the garden is approaching.
We don't want people who have plots just dig up everything and exit only to try and re-enter.
Aguirre said some local organizations have already shown interest. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Well, the marine layer is going to deepen as we head into our Thursday. So first thing out the door, expect some low clouds, expect some visibility issues, especially closer to the coast, but it is going to move quite a bit inland as well. As we get to the end of the work week, things are going to be drier, temperatures are going to be higher. But not for long, though. We have another system moving in this weekend. Not really a rain producer, but the wind, the lower temperatures, that'll come back. Let's break it down piece by piece, though. Wind a factor today as well. We do have wind advisories in effect for everybody in purple here. So mainly Borrego Springs for our area, a little bit further to the east as well. These last through midnight, so something to keep in mind. We're talking up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts with this. Overall, temperatures for tonight, we're dropping down to 54 in Oceanside, 61 in San Diego. You see all of the clouds. I was talking about the marine layer, the low clouds, the visibility issues. 44 in Mount Laguna, 52 for Borrego Springs for our lows overnight. We head into tomorrow, and there's a variety. We're in the 70s in Oceanside, Escondido, Ramona, 87 for Borrego Springs, and then into the upper 50s for Mount Laguna. You'll notice the low clouds, mainly just along the coast. Obviously, with the marine layer, those lessen throughout the day. It's the typical what to expect with that. Let's take a look at your 5-day outlook, though. Plenty of sunshine throughout the next several days along the coast. Temperatures, not too much variation. We're at 72, well, really, for the next 4 days. Then we jump up to 74 for your Monday. If we head further inland, here's where we get a little bit more temperature variation, as tends to be the case. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds throughout the next several days. Monday, mostly sunny, though, or just sunny, not even really seeing the cloud cover. We get to the 80s for Friday. Does not last long. We're back to the mid-70s for Saturday, and we stay there through the day on Monday. We head to our mountain regions, and we're bouncing between the 50s and the 60s here. Plenty of sunshine, though, until we get to Sunday. Those lows jumping from the 40s to the 50s for Sunday. In our deserts, again, this is another area, the mountains and the deserts, that's where we are most concerned about the wind with today and then into the weekend as well. Temperature-wise, we're in the 80s for Thursday. We jump to the 90s Friday and Saturday. Not too much of a cool down from Saturday to Sunday, down to that 89, but then 86 for your Monday. So still a little bit of a roller coaster, but not too much variation. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
With another look at today's top stories, as the government shutdown threatens to extend into November, Governor Gavin Newsom is taking action to help Californians at risk of losing federal food assistance. The governor says he will deploy the National Guard and set aside $80 million to help support food banks. This in anticipation of increased demand. Nearly 400,000 people in our county receive CalFresh benefits. Both San Diego Food Bank and Feeding San Diego say they've seen increased demand from federal workers and from military families. And the San Diego City Council is considering a measure that would tax vacation homes. Council member Sean Elo Rivera wants to ask voters to tax homes that are used as short-term vacation rentals based on how many bedrooms they have. That money would go to the city's general fund, which supports services like police, fire protection, libraries, and parks. Supporters want to place the measure on the June 2026 ballot.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump sanctions Russia for refusing to end the war in Ukraine. It's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. For fans, there's nothing as exciting as going to see your team play, but what was once an affordable form of entertainment is increasingly more expensive and pricing out some loyal fans. NPR's Morning Edition examines why. And speaking of entertainment, KPBS Midday Edition is rounding up the best arts and culture events across San Diego County for the weekend preview. And check out the KPBS Arts and Culture Podcast. It's called The Finest. A new episode is out tomorrow. You can listen at kpbs.org/thefinest or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Tripulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.